Bitcoin, you have this fundamental supply demand mismatch where you have institutions, corporations, and governments moving into the space. And that's the reason why Bitcoin has outperformed even tech stocks. Usually during volatile market periods, Bitcoin underperforms. You're seeing it outperform because it's already into this institutional phase. For the rest of the market, for Ethereum on down, to get into this phase, I'm really looking towards legislation moving through Congress on first stablecoins and then market structure. Those are the two all clear signals that the largest financial institutions in the world can move into the space beyond Bitcoin. And I think if we get this, which many people think we will get before the August congressional recess, I think that will be what catalyzes us and moves us forward.
Bitcoin has just unleashed a rare and powerful golden cross on its weekly chart, a signal that has sparked intense excitement in the crypto world. This highly anticipated formation, which occurs once in a market cycle, has historically been the precursor to some of Bitcoin's most explosive rallies. The golden cross appears when a shorter-term moving average, typically the 50-week MA, crosses above a longer-term one, like the 20-week MA, and analysts are now eyeing this rare event with the belief that Bitcoin could be on the verge of its next monumental surge. But this time, it's not just about the technical chart patterns. Matt Hougan, Chief Investment Officer at Bitwise, is drawing attention to Bitcoin's institutional embrace, highlighting the shift in the market's dynamics. As Bitcoin's price continues to outperform, it's signaling that the digital asset is entering its institutional phase, an era where large players are ready to take the wheel. Hougan sees regulatory clarity as the key to unlocking a flood of institutional capital into the space, with stablecoin legislation and market structure reforms potentially driving the next wave of growth. The last time Bitcoin printed a golden cross, in 2016, it saw an astronomical 139% surge. Fast forward to the 2017 bull market, and Bitcoin exploded by a staggering 2,200%. With history as a guide, the current golden cross could supercharge Bitcoin's trajectory, taking it to unimaginable heights. What lies ahead? An unprecedented leap in value, all thanks to a perfect storm of technical, institutional, and regulatory catalysts ready to propel Bitcoin to new all-time highs. Let's watch more clips from Matt's insightful interview. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for additional in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the rest of the video.
What are your thoughts on predicting Ethereum moving forward from here?
I think it's a positive sign. I don't think we're in the all clear yet, Paul, but I think it's a positive sign. For Ethereum to enter a new bull market, it needs to turn two keys. One key is we need this regulatory switch to turn. We need stablecoin legislation. We need market structure legislation that lets big institutions move into the space. I think we'll get that before August, at least a down payment on that. So that key will turn. The other half is on the Ethereum side itself. The community has been confused about the direction that it's been going. The Ethereum Foundation has recently articulated a new direction. It recognizes the issues that have held it back over the last few years. That's the first step towards curing those issues. If that can continue to move on a positive path and we get this positive regulatory development, I think you're going to see a very strong Ethereum bull market. If either of those two falters over the next few months, I think we could see more sort of volatility and treading water. For a long-term investor, looking out a couple years, I think it's a phenomenal moment to build a position in ETH. We have huge stable growth, huge DeFi growth, but we're going to have to monitor those two things to see how fast that bull market materializes. Broadly speaking, I think you have to look at, are people, how excited are people about each ecosystem? One of the things XRP has going for it is that there are people who are skeptical of it, and then there are people who are strongly bullish on XRP. I think one of the challenges Ethereum has had is it's more mixed, more people in this sort of nuanced position. You even heard my take, which was it could be a great time to buy if we see these conditional news environments. So I think an XRP ETF will resonate, particularly with the people who have been bullish on that space, but want exposure in an ETF format. And maybe the fervency of XRP bulls will make it attractive in terms of asset gathering out of the gate. The beautiful thing about BlackRock is they're the largest asset manager in the world. They're a hugely respected name, and they're able to introduce concepts to a huge number of investors just from their scale and breadth. I think everyone in the crypto industry, they're a competitor of ours, but I say this
Sure.
Meaning it. I think everyone should be thankful that they're out there advocating for the space. I think the message you can read from that, Paul, is that when you present Ethereum to sophisticated investors, some portion of them want exposure to that. That tells you a lot about the direction this is going, because more and more investors are going to be presented with this concept of Ethereum in the coming years, right? We're still early in this process. So I see that as a down payment on where we're going and a sign that there is institutional adoption and institutional interest for Ethereum out there.
Do you feel like RWAs in general will hit 1 trillion first, or do you think ETH as a market cap could hit 1 trillion first?
Well, that's a great question. The thing about it is I'm so bullish on the RWA space, particularly if you include stablecoins. I think we're going to get to 1 trillion really fast. So they will, I think my answer would be RWAs first. But I think you point to an important point, which is people thinking about Ethereum get lost in a lot of these short-term challenges, layer 1 versus layer 2, revenues versus current market cap. If you close your eyes and imagine a world where we have multiple trillions of dollars of stable coins and most assets move over public blockchains, what do you think Ethereum is worth? I think that can help you simplify the investment decision if you have a long-term outcome. Again, is there short-term challenges for Ethereum? Absolutely. But if you think stablecoins are going from 250 billion to 2.5 trillion over the next couple of years, and you think RWAs are going from 20 billion to maybe $1 trillion over the same time period, what is ETH worth then?
Right.
I think it's worth substantially more than it's worth today. And sometimes it's great to take that 30,000 foot view. It simplifies things a lot. It points to, the challenge in staking, as you know, Paul, is that you lock up your assets, right? That is the challenge. And so if you're running a fund as an institutional investor, how do you provide liquidity to investors who may come and go while still providing the yield that staking offers? Liquid staking has been around for a few years as a concept. I think what you're seeing is it now being adopted into these institutional funds because people have faith in it, right? Which makes sense. When you have a new concept, you want to see it tested in market volatility and up and down periods. Increasingly, people feel comfortable with these liquid staking tokens because they've been around, they've survived volatility, and so you're starting to see them penetrate into these institutional solutions, which is really important because that means institutional capital can participate in staking without the illiquidity lockups. It grows the market. So I think it's an important example, and you're going to see dozens of those examples, I would guess, over the next year. The good thing about this boom in tokenized treasuries, this boom in stable coins, is it brings people into the crypto ecosystem, which is the biggest gap. You got to get from 0 to 1. Once you're using stable coins or tokenized treasuries, things like DeFi are just, a little step further away. And so I think we're seeing a huge amount of institutional interest, a huge amount of onboarding going on behind the scenes. It makes me very optimistic, about where we're going.
When you think about this upgrade, Matt, do you feel like this is just the beginning of where we're going to see Ethereum really start to unlock a lot of value?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think the community observing this really wants to see this happen. They really want to see it happen on time. And then they want to see the next major upgrade come not in 18 months, but 6 months from now. I think it's important for Ethereum to ship. I think it's important for it to deliver on its promises. It's important for it to grow the strength of the L1. This, Pectra is the first example of that. So I'm really hoping it goes off on time and flawlessly, and that we rapidly move on to the next major upgrade and, like another tripling of gas. So I think that if we can do this, you're going to start to see that reflected in the Ethereum price. So let's monitor execution. And if we can execute, I think the market will reward ETH for it.
Where do we like Ethereum by end of year?
Yeah, by end of year, if we get execution on these upgrades, maybe even two upgrades this year, and we get the passage of stablecoin and market structure regulation, you're looking at Ethereum, doubling from here or more. We previously said we thought it could get back, above 4,000. I think we would need tremendous execution from the Ethereum Foundation and from the US Congress. But if we see those things and we see real growth of stablecoins and real growth of DeFi, I don't think that's out of the picture. It does face challenges if we don't execute on that. So it's path dependent, Paul. but I wouldn't count it out. There is a pathway to see ETH really start to catch up from a returns perspective. And I'm hopeful we'll stay on those milestones. If we do, I think it'll be bright days ahead. The whole thing with ETH is we need 100 to 1,000x more people and more use. That's the game we're playing.
Right,
and
right.
A lot of that comes down to user experience, which sounds boring, but it has to be easy. So I love the example that you raised. It's not easy, right? Take someone who's not experienced into the ETH ecosystem and have them bridge assets. It becomes a nightmare pretty quickly.
Right.
If that can be smoothed out, we can unlock that upside. And you are seeing these examples. I think the ETH community has heard the feedback. They're starting to react. If they build momentum in how they react to those criticisms, I think that'll be reflected in the price.
Meanwhile, the stage is set for Ethereum's next big act. But will it deliver? After lagging behind Bitcoin's explosive rally, Ethereum now stands at a critical crossroads. Two make-or-break factors will decide its fate: regulation and execution. First, the regulatory dam must break. Stablecoin and market structure legislation, potentially landing before August, could unleash a flood of institutional capital into Ethereum. Imagine Wall Street giants finally diving into DeFi, RWAs, and beyond. That's the game changer Ethereum needs. But regulation alone isn't enough. Ethereum's own house must get in order. After years of mixed messaging, the Ethereum Foundation is finally sharpening its vision, admitting past missteps and prioritizing scalability, usability, and L1 strength. Upgrades like Pectra could triple network capacity, but only if delivered on time. The market is watching. Execution is everything. Here's the bullish case. If Congress passes crypto laws and Ethereum ships upgrade smoothly, Ethereum could double, even retake $4,000 plus by year-end. The fuel? An explosion in stablecoins, heading toward $2.5 trillion. RWAs, from $20 billion to $1 trillion, and BlackRock's growing Ethereum footprint. Institutions are circling, they just need the green light. Yet risks loom. Sluggish development or regulatory delays could leave Ethereum treading water. And let's be honest, Ethereum's user experience still isn't ready for mass adoption. Bridging assets remains a nightmare. Fix that, and Ethereum becomes unstoppable. Bottom line is Ethereum's destiny hinges on speed and certainty. Nail the upgrades, clear the regulatory fog, and Ethereum won't just rally, it could redefine finance. Stumble, and rivals will pounce. One thing's clear, the next 6 months will decide everything. Buckle up. While Ethereum's path forward hinges on key developments, Bitcoin is already blasting off. When Bitcoin moves, it moves fast. This bull run is just getting started. Let's hear Gary Cardone's fiery take on Bitcoin's unstoppable surge.
We have $95,000 Bitcoin. I'm really having a hard time telling people, not telling people, hey, I told you so. I mean, this is crazy. Just a reminder, if you see where I'm at on this chart, this was where my little mouse is, April the 7th. That is 18 days ago. 18 days ago, you could have bought Bitcoin for $20,000 cheaper than it is today. $20,000 cheaper than it is today. Now, this is why people say you just need to be in Bitcoin. Well, first off, 20 grand over 75 is close to 30%. So if you would have invested at 75 grand and it's moved up 20 divided by that 75,000 is roughly 66 would be 33. So let's call it 30%, 28%, a 28% move in less than 20 days. Yes, could it reverse and have a similar? Well, it did, didn't it? But it took longer to go from 109 to test 77, and then it tested 74 and 74 here. You see what we're saying here? See what's going on? So we went up to 109. 109 was in January. January was, 120 days ago. 20 days ago, and another 35 days ago, okay, it started testing This was the whole, we hit a top, Trump comes into office, all the tariff stuff plays out. This is tariff land right here. Okay, sends it into the ground through liquidity squeeze over a very short period of time. Let's call this February to March the 2nd, 1 month, bang, whole market falls apart. Bitcoin gets oversold because it's liquid. I could go back here and go, this has been going on since 54,000. Okay, 54,000 was literally 9 months ago. So that's a double. Something is happening with Bitcoin. Most certainly something very, very important is happening with Bitcoin because it's performing much, much better than all the Mag 7 stocks. And that would be NVIDIA, Microsoft, Alphabet, Facebook, blah, blah. You got gold that is, in fact, let's go take a peek at gold. Gold hit 34 plus, 3,400, all-time high. We have gold. I think gold is beginning to roll over personally. Could it go for another big smashing? Maybe. Silver, you can see gold smash through. We actually got to 35.11. Now I sold gold about a year and a half ago at 28, but bought $50,000 Bitcoin, maybe $37,000 Bitcoin. It's come off from 35.11 to 32.77 week today. Silver has been, I'm going to just say it now, I think silver has lost forever. I think the market cap of silver is around 1.8 billion. That's because it's silver. Sorry. 1.8 billion. So let's say that we have crypto. Bitcoin's 1.8 billion. I think Bitcoin is taking. Why would you own silver that weighs about 3 times more than gold? And the value of that silver is 10x less. So you have 10x the volume, probably 20x the volume, silver to gold. It's not very transportable. It's not very valuable, and it has less and less monetary value, more and more industrial value. So I could see it as an industrial tool, but I think it's basically lost its position to silver, and most certainly to gold, and most certainly it's lost its position to Bitcoin. Bitcoin will most certainly take over. Bitcoin has now also exceeded Google's market cap, I believe. We're going to bounce around here. We're going to test these levels. We're most certainly going to test 92 again, 90. We might test the high 80s. But what I'm most certain about is we're going to test 100. We have to test the 109 again. How quickly that comes, I don't know. It feels to me like we're back when it was 57,000. It feels very, very much to me that between 82, and I really hope this is not true because I'd like to buy some more Bitcoin in the 70s. I don't know what pukes the market out other than one big event. And then we're about done with big events that's going to drive Bitcoin down. That's what I think. I think if I have one more opportunity to pick this up at, say, 20%, 20% off of 100 would be 80 grand. I don't think I'm going to see that again. So I'm going to probably move my bids up. There'd have to be a catastrophic event, I think, for that to occur. Let's go back to a year ago when it was at 69, when we thought that was expensive. Remember when you thought 69,000 was expensive? Okay, it would have had you buying all of this, okay? All of this. And you would have been right longer term. You would have been wrong right in here. So I think there's a way to really manage your DCAing. These are the periods I'm going to stack for, okay? I'm going to stack for these periods right here. See that period right there? Bang, okay? That period there, right under here. See what tranches were these? See, this was puking out people. 41. Would you love 41 or not? Here's some more 65s, 56s. Okay, you'd have picked those up too, and then you'd have stopped. No, you wouldn't have picked those up because it wasn't there. We're just talking about the stuff under the 50, under the 100. I could change this. Look at this, 75, 57,000. Okay, and right in here, 60 grand. Bang, bang. That's all I got. It's 95 G's. Probably posting this is going to raise the price. You guys be safe. Self-custody. Bitcoin's your sovereign bank. You are sovereign. You're free. If you're not free, you need to ask yourself, what is the price of freedom?
Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, that shiny $95,000 Bitcoin price tag flashing across our screens. You can practically hear the smug, "I told you so," echoing through crypto Twitter. But here's what's really wild. Just 18 days ago, you could have grabbed Bitcoin for $20,000 less. That's a 28% moonshot in less than 3 weeks, the kind of move that turned skeptics into believers overnight. Remember when $69,000 seemed outrageous? Now we're eyeing $100,000 like it's yesterday's news. The charts are screaming that a retest of the $109,000 all-time high is coming. It's not a matter of if, but when. And while gold struggles to hold its shine and silver becomes the forgotten stepchild of precious metals, Bitcoin keeps flexing, recently dethroning Google in market cap like it's no big deal. Here's the shocker. This isn't 2021's retail-driven frenzy. This is institutional money waking up to crypto's potential. Every dip gets bought aggressively. We might flirt with $90,000 again, but good luck seeing $70,000 unless some black swan event hits. The smart money? They're not waiting. They're moving bids up, stacking sats, and preparing for the next leg up. The lesson couldn't be clearer. In Bitcoin, time beats timing. Those who panicked at $69,000 missed the ride to $95,000. Those waiting for $50,000 might miss $150,000. Self-custody your coins, embrace the volatility, and remember, you're not just holding an asset, you're holding sovereignty in digital form. Buckle up, because this rocket's just getting started. As we wrap up, Hougan highlights regulation as key for Ethereum's growth, but Cardone's all in on Bitcoin's surge. Which camp are you in? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.